Hello everyone, welcome back to Naomi's Bookshelf. Today we're going to do way too many readathons in one TBR video. So September is a month full of readathons and I don't want to miss out on any of them. So we're just gonna go over them quickly, the ones I'm participating in. I have figured out how all of my books will cross over, and I'm going to go over them as best and as easily as I can while doing my TBR Clue game because I don't want to skip that either. So here's the setup for today's video. It's gonna be a little convoluted. So the structure of this video will be very simple at the same time as not. I'm going to go over, first of all, how I did last month with TBR Clue. How did I do with the books I read? Did I fulfill the prompts, etc.? Next, I will go over my new board and do the magical readathon prompts for that. And then I will do Bookopoly. So I'm doing both of those readathons. Next, I'm gonna go over series September. Next, I'm gonna go into the readathon that I'm co-hosting with Kaylee from Luminous Libro and Gemma from Read a Book Gem, and we will be going into the short stories and the books I'll be reading specifically for 30 books in 30 days. I'm also going to do fall into reading, but I'm going to go into that later into fall, like next month or so. Too many TBRs in one video is too much. So in the hallway, I had to read a book for a readathon, and I read Viking Ships at Sunrise for Buzzwordathon. For the lounge, I had to read a 3-word title, and I read Tigers at Twilight. In the dining room, I had to read a book for the prompt of Hallway, and I read Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine. In the kitchen, I had to do a reread, and I read And Then There Were None. In the ballroom, I had to read a book with an animal in the title or as the main character, and I read The Window at the White Cat. In the conservatory, I had to do a buddy read, and I read People We Meet on Vacation. In the library, I had to read a book with an animal on the cover, and I read Hour of the Olympics. And in the study, I had to read a book that was written or published in the 1800s, and I read Marius, which is, I know, a technicality, but I am going with it as this is technically a section, a volume that you can count on Goodreads, even though I'm not counting it, from Les Miserables. Now, if you were keeping track, that was only 8 rooms instead of 9 rooms, so I did not complete the Billiards room, which was to read a book from my 2018 to 2019 TBR jar. I pulled up Nefertiti. I'm halfway through, well, maybe not halfway through, but I'm about a third through. Really enjoying it, but it's very slow. So I am going to be risking it by not knowing the cards that was on that room. So let's guess what it was. So now here's my question. I know it is Colonel Mustard with the revolver, but I don't know which room it is as I only have 6 revealed. It can either be the conservatory, the dining room, or the hall. And I'm going to go with, as my guess, I think I'm gonna go with Colonel Mustard with the revolver in the conservatory. And if I get it wrong, I have to get an extra book on my TBR at a random pull, which is a required read. Doesn't sound great. Okay, let's see. Revolver, we knew that. Oh, I got it right, conservatory. Okay, phew. I genuinely didn't know. And Colonel Mustard. To prove I didn't know, I'll show you the cards. They're still in the envelope. I haven't looked. There they are, the other 2 rooms. Thank goodness, no extra books. Phew, okay. Moving on to the next game. If you're a regular viewer of TBR Clue, you'll notice I did not use the same mug as normal. I figured it'd be easier to use the magical readathon prompts as opposed to this mug full of prompts. Next month, Jane will be back, but this month it's easier. So the first prompt that we got was in the hall as usual, and this one is the contemporary prompt, and I'm going with the humans race. And for this one, I just wrote down contemporary, but it's also for nonfiction, that whole prompt. So I'm gonna go with the nonfiction for this, as you have to start from a book from scratch. I'm gonna go with The Borden Murders. So this is Lizzie Borden and the Trial of the Century by Sarah Miller. I've been wanting to read this one for a while. This is a very interesting nonfiction to me, or this is just such an interesting crime to me. It has some newspaper articles. It just looks so interesting, and it's kind of short, which is helpful with this whole TBR as it's kind of growing out of proportion. But I am very interested in reading this, and I always love a good nonfiction on my TBR. I'm a huge fan of nonfiction, and this will be a nice thing to, I don't know, mix it up. In the lounge, we got School. Now this one is one of the final prompts on the entire quest. However, this also fits perfectly with the Read Christie 2021 project, as it is also to read a book about a school setting. That's an Agatha Christie book, and their group book is actually Cat Among the Pigeons. So I'll be reading this one for the Read Christie 2021, and it fits perfectly. I don't know anything about this except for it's set in a school, and at the back it says, late one night, two teachers investigating a mysterious flashing lights in the sports pavilion while the rest of the school sleeps. There among the lacrosse sticks, they stumble across the body of the unpopular games mistress, shot through the heart point blank. So I don't know much else. I do know it's a Hercule Poirot, and it's going to be fun. I always love Agatha Christie. I feel like I'm ready to read some more of her books, some of her new books to me, and I'm excited. So the next one's for the dining room, and this one is for series, and I am going to be reading Gated Prey by Lee Goldberg. I have an arc of this. This one comes out in October, and I really want to read it before it comes out, but also because I'm loving this series so far. I have 70 pages left of book 2, and this is book 3, and I can't wait to pick it up. This one follows Eve Ronan as she is a new homicide detective, but she got to that position by kind of working her way up through a viral video of her taking down a very famous movie star. It is really fun, really fast-paced, action-y adventure. I really enjoyed the first one. It is it's just so much fun, but also really mysterious, really adventure-packed, and really small too. So great for Readathon, loving it. It's highly recommended by me, and if you haven't heard of Lee Goldberg's books, you probably have heard of the show Monk, which is something he definitely produced and wrote the books for as well. You should check him out. So for the kitchen, I got 5-star prediction, and I am not a person who makes 5-star predictions. I made a whole video about it, and I figured I'd put this one in there as I have either loved or hated this author's work. So it's either a 1-star or a 5-star from me, to be honest. And I'm going to be putting This Side of Paradise by F. Scott Fitzgerald into this spot. I am buddy reading this with Jackie Reads and Writes. I will link her down below, along with all the hosts. If I didn't mention that before, I don't think I did. But this one, I don't know too much about. I think it's very reflective of F. Scott Fitzgerald's life, which is scaring me a little. However, I did really love The Great Gatsby. I truly love that book. I think it's just so interesting and reflective, but I hated Tender as the Night. So this is going to be the deciding factor for me if I like F. Scott Fitzgerald's books as a whole, or if I'm just only liking Great Gatsby. But also this one could be either a love or a hate. So that's why I'm putting it in 5-star prediction. It's either a 5 or a 1, I'm pretty sure. So in the ballroom, we got urban or city setting, town setting, and I'm gonna go with some Shakespeare here because I am reading a lot of Shakespeare in September for 30 books in 30 days. I'll go into all of that later. So I'm going to be reading The Merchant of Venice, at least for this one, as Venice is a city. I don't know much more about that play except for that it's set in Venice, and Venice is definitely not the country. So there we go. I think that counts. For the Conservatory, we got Mystery, and I'm going to be reading The Man in the Brown Suit by Agatha Christie. Now this one is because I am part of a Facebook group. This one is going to be my book club book for that. We are part of a monthly book club where we read 1 book per month in publication order. This is the next one on the list. I remember really enjoying this one when I read it before, so this is a reread for me, but I don't remember who did it. I don't remember much. So I'm excited to go back and try it again. Yeah, this one is about about a woman on a boat. The back says a strangled woman. Don't know how much more I should know. I know this is a Colonel Race book, which I don't like him particularly much. However, such is life. You can't love every character, but at least he's not Hastings, right? So for the billiards room, we got tempting, and I am going to go with a poetry collection, which I've had sitting on my shelf for a little while. I actually know the author, but she did not ask me to put this out there. I saw her promoting it, and I want to support her, put her book out there. This is a little poetry collection called Gently Planted. Her name is Ruth Marie Patterson, and I am excited to read this. I'm sure it will break up a lot of the heavy reading or a lot of just the general reading and be some light poetry. It's a lot of spiritual poetry, Christian poetry, but I am excited to pick it up and just enjoy something different, basically, to change things up. So for the library, we got a map, and I would be reading Nefertiti for this, except for the fact that I've already started it. So we're gonna be reading Treasure Island in kid version because my copy does not have a map. But there is a map in this one, so yay. This one's also short, so that's kind of helpful. It's like 60, 70 pages. I have never read Treasure Island. I'm excited to do so. I do know the story, though, I feel like pretty well. It's pretty popular culture. And Tiffany from Beautiful Minutia has really made me want to read it. She just finished it, and I'm excited to pick it up. So I want to pick up this one since it has a map, and maybe pick up the other one on audio since I have that, and actually listen to the real thing, but I'll read this one for the sake of the prompt. For the study, I have to do Supernatural, and I'm going to be doing River God by Wilbur Smith. This one is actually a buddy read I'm doing with Nikki from Red Dot Reads. I will link her down below. She just recently started her channel, but we've been buddy reading a lot together over the past, I'd say almost year. But we've read several books together. It's been really fun, and we'll be reading this really big book together. This one is about ancient Egypt and their gods, so I'm going to call that Supernatural. It's definitely not human, so there we go. But yeah, this one follows several gods and several ancient Egyptian people. I don't know much more, but Nikki explained it, and I was like, that sounds like a book for me. And asked if she wanted to buddy read it together in September. So here we are. I guess I actually have 2 buddy reads on this TBR for 10 books or 9 books, but this one is by far the biggest scary-wise, but this side of Paradise is like the most terrifying because I could hate it, but I hope not. There's one more book that I would like to read for the Magical Readathon, which is the prompt of Standalone, which I never pulled. And I'm going to be trying to read The Great Alone by Mary Roberts Rinehart for this. I am excited to pick up a third Mary Roberts Rinehart in the course of 2 months, as I have really enjoyed her work, as she's very much like Agatha Christie, but American and really enjoyable. So I will be reading this with Kevi. I will link her channel down below. She is doing a group read essentially, and yeah, you should join us if you are at all interested in reading someone like Agatha Christie, but who is from maybe across the pond. So I will link her channel down below, or her video specifically announcing this read along. So now that all that's done, let's talk Bookopoly. So my very first roll that I got was, of course, a double, because I needed more books in my life. And I got Humans. So I'm putting in the company of Sherlock Holmes. This is a stories inspired by the Holmes canon. This is edited by Laurie R. King and Leslie S. Klinger. This one is a bunch of stories that are by many authors, and it is very short. I'm not a short story person, but I'm excited. This actually looks like it has text messages and kind of mixed media. I'm interested to try it out and read the short story collection. So guess what happened in roll number 2? Doubles. Again. But this time we landed on TBR game, which gave me a freebie because I do my own TBR game. So I'm putting in the man in the brown suit, as this already fits prompts. I'm very thankful that at least one of these books is an easy squeeze in. So prompt number 3 was myth, lore, or legend. I'm gonna go with river gods for that one. Nice crossover. Thank you for roll number 3. Egyptian mythology. So roll number 4, devils again. I had planned on 5 rolls. I don't know if I had said that, but guess what? Life decided to give me at least 8 at this point. And so I scrolled through my feed like the prompt said, and I found the very first book that I actually wanted to read or had access to, and that was not actually a book, but a bingo card for book and a read-along that I'm actually partaking in, which is Jurassic Park. So I'm doing this one. The host of it is Danny from Spinelli Speaks. I don't have my copy yet from the library, but it's on its way. I have never read Jurassic Park, never watched Jurassic Park, but I'll be reading it throughout the whole month of September, so hopefully I like it. But yeah, Jurassic Park. So this little bingo card here is what prompted me to pick this one up. Next roll brought me to highest rated, and I don't really like this one because I like to be able to switch out books, and I should state that as a premise right now. I have the freedom to switch out all my books. I'm claiming that for all the readathons. However, with this one, I am giving myself 2 options. So the first one that is like the highest rated on my entire TBR and Goodreads is actually the sequel to Dwell Among the Cedars, which is called Between the Wild Branches, and I have that on ARC. It came out in July, and so it's been a few months, but it's still really highly rated at 4.79. I am very interested in reading that. However, I am halfway through this one, and I still need to finish it. So that would mean adding this one to my current month's reading, so I can read that one next month, or finishing that one up next month too. So that might not work for me time-wise. However, I also went to my TBR for pre-2018 on Goodreads, and the highest rated for that one is The Girl Still Got It by Liz Curtis Higgs with 4.32. So I could also pick up this one. And I am interested in both the sequel to this one and this one. This one's a nonfiction, and I don't know, this one is a nonfiction about Ruth from the Bible and just like lessons from that story. It is short. I've started it, but I am not that far in, so we'll see. Historical, biblical fiction, or a nonfiction. I'm gonna keep my options open here. Next, I landed on Humans again, and I am putting in This Side of Paradise by F. Scott Fitzgerald. I'm already reading this one for the whole month, so I'm gonna just assume I'm gonna finish it, and if not, I'll find another book about humans. For my 7th prompt, I landed on New, and I'm going to put in Gently Planted by Ruth Marie Patterson again. I think that this one is pretty new. It came out like this year. For the final prompt, I landed on Spooky, and I'm going to go with Lizzie Borden murder book, not murder mystery, but Lizzie Borden and the Trial of the Century. I'm sure that this one is going to be spooky with details, whodunit, and if it's not, I'll find another spooky book to read. This is going to be interesting. I mean, the blurb says, like a historical version of Law and Order, the book chronically reviews and defines the case in lively prose. I'm sure I'm going to find it interesting, fascinating, and probably spooky. So that was it for my Bookopoly rolls. Thank goodness, only 8, and most of my books crossed over, so we're good. Moving on to series September. So Krista from Books and Jams and Sarah from Sarah's Nightstand have put together a bingo card with 9 prompts for series September. The idea is just to read a book from a series or finish a series, do something with a series, and that's kind of it. I have several series that I'm in the middle of, and I would like to get through them. I have several books on this TBR that are part of series that I would like to get to, so I mean, it's perfect. Here we are. Let's get into it. So the first prompt is to start a series. I'm gonna go across on the bingo card. And for starting a series, I'm going to be going with Jurassic Park or River God for this, because they're both the first book in a series. For 2 books in the same series, I'm going to try to hold off and not finish Bone Canyon, being this one, until September 1st, because I have 70 pages left. And if I can do that, then I can read the book 3 and being Gated Prey, and that would count. So I would be able to read 2 books in the Eve Ronan series for that prompt. Then I would have my newest series purchase. I am just going with the series that I have most recently acquired, which would be Jurassic Park from the library. A series that is longer than 5 books is actually River God. They have like 8 books in that series, so perfect. And finishing a series, I would be up to date if I read book 3 in Eve Ronan, so I'm on par with that one. Second book in a series would be this one here. A book in a duology, so Jurassic Park is in a duology. I also have To Dwell Among the Cedars, which is part of a duology technically, so that would count, or its sequel. My most recently started series is definitely the Eve Ronan series, so that would be a check off my list. And then a series that I started more than a year ago, which I have been reading for the first time ever, but loving the series, and then it kind of tapered off, so I don't know. I have the final book that's out to read, which is The Bounty by Janet Ivanovich and Steve Hamilton. So I do have that on audio from my library, and I would like to finish off that series. I've been reading it since last year. So that would be a final blackout of that board with only 5 books if I don't do the To Dwell Among the Cedars series. So that would be helpful to get actually some books off of my TBR, or books that are currently on my TBR already. So I'm not too upset about that. Readathon covering a lot of prompts already. So the final thing I need to cover would be my own readathon that I'm co-hosting, which is the 30 books in 30 days. So I have put up my TBR already for this, but I'll quickly go over it again. Okay, so I have plans to read 1 short story from Jane Austen. I don't know which one yet. I'm going to literally wing it. There are too many books to put on the bookshelf, so I'm sorry. I'm gonna be putting this one in that slot as it's quite applicable. It's nice and short. For a book that is over 30 years old, I'm gonna count the last volume of Les Miserables, as this could be counted separately on Goodreads, but also, if you want to be technical, each book in this book has volumes, which has books, which has chapters. I'm gonna count it. And then I have here my short story collection of Sherlock Holmes, which I am going to be reading. This will be for the 10 books of one genre. I have all the information in my announcement video with the TBR as well. I also have the books with the 10 in the same setting, which is The Courtroom. I'll be reading from here. And this book also has the one story that is between 30 and 31 or 33 pages long. So I'll be reading that one too. And I'll be reading 10 books by one author, which is Shakespeare. Yeah. So that's it from me. I do want to remind everyone that we have one more live stream for La Mesalong 2021, discussing the final thoughts of the book, the final volume. It's going to be an adventure of a time, and I hope that you'll all be there. Also, we have a lot of fun with this book, so I'm excited. If you are new here and you have enjoyed this video, you can always like this video and subscribe. You can always like this video anyways. And if you would like to and you haven't, you can hit that notification bell to see a new video come up from me next time it's out and available. I post on Sundays and Thursdays regularly and sometimes extra videos in the week. I hope to see you next time. Bye for now.